General Christopher Musa, the Chief of Defense Staff, has shared insights following President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's Independence Day speech, which announced the elimination of over 300 Boko Haram and bandit commanders. The president also highlighted the return of peace to northern communities and the gradual return of displaced persons to their homes. General Musa emphasized that while progress has been made, Nigeria's security challenges remain an ongoing issue. He acknowledged that total peace is difficult to achieve given the global and regional context, including the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war and conflict in the Middle East. He appealed to Nigerians to support the military, emphasizing that the country's challenges are part of broader regional and global instability. The conversation then shifted to the role of military contractors in Nigeria's fight against insurgency. General Musa rejected the idea of engaging private military contractors, citing the lack of success in places like Mali and Afghanistan, where contractors have been involved. He noted that Nigeria's military, despite its challenges, has made significant progress. He attributed the prolonged insurgency to the complexities of asymmetric warfare, where enemies are difficult to identify and blend into civilian populations. He also stressed that the military's adherence to human rights in an effort to minimize collateral damage has made the fight more challenging. General Musa argued that instead of outsourcing security to contractors, Nigeria should invest in its own military. He praised recent initiatives to boost local defense production, including the production of local ammunition and armored personnel carriers, which he believes will enhance the military's capacity in the long term. He noted that the Nigerian government had approved a defense-military partnership to increase local production of military equipment, which could eventually allow Nigeria to supply its neighboring countries. In response to questions about the morale of troops, General Musa emphasized the importance of training, welfare, and addressing soldiers' needs. He highlighted ongoing efforts to improve salaries and allowances for military personnel, as well as initiatives to strengthen the capacity of the armed forces through joint training with international partners. The video also touched on the case of a female officer by the name Ruth, who had alleged sexual harassment and faced mental health challenges. General Musa defended the military's handling of the situation, stating that the officer's mental health had been assessed and appropriate actions had been taken in accordance with military procedures. He reiterated that the military takes mental health issues seriously, particularly because unstable individuals in the armed forces could pose a danger to others. However, he did not rule out the possibility of reviewing the case for transparency. The conversation returned to the issue of military contractors, with General Musa reiterating that the Nigerian military is capable of handling its security challenges without external assistance. He rejected the notion that the engagement of private security outfits in certain regions, such as the Gulf of Guinea, reflected a lack of military capacity. Instead, he argued that these engagements were part of broader efforts to complement the military's work in specific areas. On the issue of funding, General Musa responded to criticism that funds appropriated to the military were sometimes misused. with some military leaders accused of using resources for personal or community projects instead of for defense purposes. He assured the public that military funds are used appropriately and that the military leadership is committed to transparency and accountability. General Musa conveyed a message of cautious optimism regarding Nigeria's security situation. While acknowledging that challenges remain, he expressed confidence in the military's ability to overcome insurgencies and banditry. He urged for continued public support for the armed forces and emphasized the importance of investing in local defense production to ensure long-term security and stability. I will play the video for you guys to watch and see for yourself.
Thank you, Dr. Abati. It's always good to be here. Unfinished in the sense that we still have work to do. It's not yet Uhuru totally. Well, again, it is almost impossible to expect that we'll have total peace in the entire world. You know, the challenges we're facing is not only to Nigeria alone. The sub-region is going through stress, Africa, and indeed the entire world. The Russia-Ukrainian war is causing a lot of issues for us. The recent Israeli-Palestinian, now Lebanese and Iranian wars are also, they have implications. But again, we still have implications here in Nigeria. So it's not only for us alone. And that's why we always want to appeal to Nigerians, firstly, to support their armed forces, to support the country as a whole. The challenges we're facing is not isolated. Yeah, the challenges we're facing is a Nigerian challenge. Nigerians must take on and responsibility. I'm happy to be here because you give us a platform where we can talk directly with Nigerians and then let them understand that they equally have roles to play for us to be able to succeed. So it's work in progress. We're not where we want to be, but we're heading there, and we're sure we're heading towards the right way.
Excellent. All right, you talk about roles that Nigerians have to play. I have two questions for you. The first is, what are some of those roles? Because the people are watching, so this is an opportunity to actually detail some of the things that Nigerians ought to be doing to complement the efforts of the military. Now, in talking about complementing the efforts, my second question would then be the statement made by Senator Ali Ndume. I don't know if you've heard about it, but he said that perhaps the military should consider engaging military contractors to fully decimate and win the war against terrorism, particularly Boko Haram in Nigeria. What's your take on that? Do you agree with him?
Yeah, thank you very much. Of recent, you know that we have military contractors in Mali. How far have they gone? The Americans have used military contractors in Afghanistan. They fought for over 20 years. They packed and left and didn't finish the war. So what I'm saying is that asymmetric warfare is a very, very difficult operation. Why? Because you are dealing with non-state actors, people you don't know. These are your own people. The only way we identify them is if you see them armed. These guys, immediately you move in, they drop the arms, they hide the arms, and then they are normal civilians. And again, even when they are carrying these arms, they try to blend within the civilian populace, so that it makes it extremely difficult. One of the reasons why this campaign has been prolonged for this long is because we are obeying human rights. We try to, as much as possible, know that if there are civilian populace within the general area, we avoid collateral damage, except if necessary. But that has made it a bit difficult. But we remain focused, we remain very professional. Senator Ndume has said, you know, there's freedom of speech in democracy. So I understand probably he is looking at it, trying to look at options. But for us, it is not an option. We're doing a lot of joint training with the Americans, with the European Union team. So we're doing a lot together to build capacity in order to project this war. The war we're facing is not your kind of conventional warfare where the enemy is there, you know where he is, you can always go and get him here and there. These guys are highly mobile. Like I said, once you are going after them, there are informants that give them up-to-date information about your movement, your strength, your capabilities, and then they blend as quickly as possible. The Northwest has a land mass of kilometers. It is massive. It is highly forested, a very difficult terrain, and we share a common border with our neighboring countries, with Benin Republic and Niger. 1,500 kilometers with Niger. That's also very big. So these are challenges we're facing. The 300 that was mentioned is still counting. I think we've done more than that. But as it is, because we have high rate of poverty, illiteracy, and so they have a way of recruiting as quickly as possible. So it makes it look as if we're not working. But I can guarantee you that we're doing well. Contractors, military contractors, not the solution. The money you are going to give them, because you are going to pay them heavily. Why not use that military and equip your own? Use that money to equip your own military. That would be a better option, and I think we can do that. I'm very happy that the Mr. President has approved the bill for DICON, Defense Industry Corporation of Nigeria, to partner with other original manufacturers to produce in situ. I think that will be our solution. What we have realized over these years, why again these things have been prolonged, is even with our money we can't get the equipment that we need. Now in Ukraine, anywhere you go under equipment, they take priority other than you. Except we produce what we need, that will give us the leverage, and I think we're working towards that. We've started now. We are producing our own ammunition. We have local contractors like Proforce that is producing local APCs. We have EPL that is producing local. We have Imperium. They are producing local APCs. I think by few years' time, we also will be able to produce and also sell to our neighboring countries. I think that will give us the leverage.
I mean, General, I completely agree with you, owing to the fact that, sometimes we might not agree on much, but I agree with you. And before you came here, I made a strong case that Nigeria has one of the best fighting force you can ever think of. And that what we just need is training, proper training. Because even in the time past, when the military contractors were here, the strike force 72 during 2014, 2015, it was still our troops that did most of the work. And they did most of that clearing. And they made it possible for President Jonathan to come up to, I think it was Baghdad, and we could have elections that period. So I dove my heart for the fighting force. We have a great fight for, and I salute you guys this morning if you see me. But we have some problems. Morale is a big problem. And I also want to ask you about female officer Ruth. Did you people handle that matter properly? I mean, we talk about defending the rights of women here. We feel largely, and I'm talking about society in general, that woman was just done away with. Allegations were not listened to. They were quick to say she was mentally unbalanced and all of that. Please, let's make a case for that woman. And we want to fight for that woman this morning.
Thank you, Rufai. Thank you very much. I can tell you as commanders, we fight for our men. We fight for our men more than any other thing. And I can bet you, if you ask any of our men outside, they will tell you, we stand for them, we protect them. But, there are limitations. This same lady you were talking about did not start this year. It had been ongoing for a very long time. Everybody had tried to assist the lady to ensure that she's properly taken care of, looked after. It's not because she's mentally and then we just drop her. No, we don't do that. We went through the process. We got the medical men to go through her, looked at it. We tried to assist her. But one thing people don't understand, everybody that tried to help her, she came after the person and maligned that. Even myself, I'm sure you had comments she made that she reported. She did report. She communicated with me directly, and I was able to get across to her commanders. We took her to the medical, and that's the procedure. The medical were able to go through it and looked at her, and the case was investigated. That she said she was sexually harassed by a commander. It doesn't happen. If it does, we have our court martials and we take action. We do not hide our men. Anybody who commits an offense will go for it. My policy is, you do well, you are rewarded. You do badly, you get punished. So the commander is not that. It was thoroughly investigated. We found out that she has some mental issues. Yes, sometimes she might seem to be coherent in what she's saying. Remember that even the chief of army staff, she came after him that he wanted her to send his nude picture or whatever. I mean, these are the things that will never happen. So please be rest assured that we take care of our men. Their welfare is of paramount importance. And I'm sure you have listened to us since last year. Sir, we've always talked about the welfare of our men, because we know without good welfare, they will not be able to give us their best. Sir, so we're always out on looking out for them, watching out for them, sir, appealing for increment in their salaries, appealing for increment in their ration cash allowance, which we call RCA, so that they can do better. Okay. But I can tell you that we're working, we're committed, sir, and we'll continue to work.
I want to go back to that lady's case, because what she said in the interview was different. She was even saying that the dismissal, was not even a dismissal in the first place, that it was an agreement by both parties. And what the army made it seem was different. She even gave more, copious insights into that incident as regards the sexual advances being made at her, and she saying, no to it. What were the authorities that even investigated that she was medically unstable? Because this issue, I know you people in the military, you have your own internal mechanism, but it's already a public issue. And for us, it's the optics at which it looks at in the public that we do not like. By the virtue of this show,
I think
can we reassess that matter? Can we reassess that matter for the sake of transparency? I know you people are fair comply on it, but can we reassess for the interest of justice? General, you can go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Yes, okay. I didn't really get the last part of your speech, but I think you talked about the issue of reassessing the matter. Of course, mental issues, especially in the military, is something we view very, very seriously, because you give somebody who is mentally unstable, he has ability to carry a weapon, he can take down everybody that is there when the issues come up. And so it's something that we view very seriously. And we don't want, we respect anybody who is committed himself to serve in the military, because we know you have agreed to lay down your life for your country. So for us as commanders, it's something we take very seriously. We appreciate that. And so we want to also make sure that their health status are well respected. And that's why we went through the entire process. We have our procedures. For every aspect of the military, we have our procedures. And those are the procedures that were followed. A review, of course, it's possible to have a review.
Okay, General.
I'm sure it will not come out anything different. That I can guarantee you.
Okay, General.
But we will not do anything to impugn on our own personnel. We will not.
Okay, General, let me take you back to this point about private military contractors. Your predecessor, General Lucky Rabo, said, no private military contractors. We are up to the task. The Nigerian military can do it. But, okay, you have repeated more or less the same thing, saying, no, such an option is not on the table. But the same Nigerian government engages domestic corporate security outfits, either, along the Gulf of Guinea or in the Northeast and Northwest. What does that say about the capacity of the Nigerian military? Because these domestic security outfits, the basic comment that they make by their very engagement is that the Nigerian military cannot handle, some of these assignments. That's one. Number two, Senator Adams Oshiomhole, not too long ago, on the floor of the Senate, challenged the Nigerian military and said funds appropriated to the Nigerian military are usually used by the military hierarchy either to go and build universities in their hometowns or to go and do CSR in their hometowns without using the same appropriated funds to do their main assignment. Well, the Senate shut down that motion, but the question is still out there as a matter of public interest. What is transparency and accountability in the military governed by martial law that is different from the transparency and accountability that we civilians talk about?
Thank you, Dr. Abati.
General, please go ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Abati. Yeah, somehow towards the end, I didn't hear what you have to say. But just to respond to this, that the military is highly professional. That I can guarantee. There is no general we have in the army today that has spent less than 25 years in service. We have been to Liberia, we've been to Sierra Leone, we've been to other countries, we've done so much. We're here in our country facing these challenges. And like I said, asymmetric warfare is an entirely different operation. On the issue of transparency, I can guarantee you that we are going through every scrutiny that is there on the land. We have auditors that always come consistently to do that. And when you talk about use of funds in building universities and doing civil, that is asymmetric warfare. And that's what we call the non-kinetic part of it. We have two options, the kinetic and the non-kinetic. The kinetic is where we use military force The military force to solution to non-state actors or to asymmetric warfare is just about 20-25% of the solution. Mistake people always make is that they think it is only entirely a military solution. It is not. The non-kinetic plays a higher role, and that is where if our youths are engaged, if they are educated, if they are well fed, if they are well schooled, well housed, they will not give in to these terrorists. Like I tell you, on a weekly basis, we take over thousands down, but they keep coming out in numbers. Why is that so? Because we have a lot of them not doing anything. They're just sitting down there, and people are just ready tools to be used by these criminals to take advantage. So I can guarantee you that the funds being released are properly utilized. The central bank, the Ministry of Finance, all the procedures they do in checkmating what we do is there. We have the oversight function by the National Assembly that is ongoing. And also we have our own mechanism from within that we do that. I can guarantee you no money is wasted. And when you even look at this money, I tell you this, one precision missile, just a smaller one, is about $200,000. I'm sure you are aware that everything that we buy in hard currency, from our ammunition to our bullets to our bombs to everything. Everything is bought in foreign currency. Now, if you look at our budget, convert our budget to dollars, and well, I'm happy Rufai is there. Fact check the cost of a ship. Fact check the cost of an MRAP, of a missile, of a drone, of a helicopter, or a fighter aircraft, and see how many we'll be able to buy with with the budget we have. We know the country is going through so much, so we don't expect to get everything. But the little that we have, we are utilizing them properly. The issue of the military contractors, like I told you, the Americans used them in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in other countries. How did they end up? Bringing anybody out from anywhere to home here, one, look at the cost, and then he's going to have his own interests. And his interest is not to end it, to aggravate the issue. So you will have more complex issues to even deal with. The Wagner force is in Mali. Recently, 87 of them were killed. And what did they do? They went there and they got killed by the same terrorists. So we are dealing with individuals that have sworn to kill for whatever reason. And the worst enemy you can ever fight is to fight somebody who has nothing to lose. They have nothing to lose. If they die, nobody cares, because they feel they are going straight to heaven, or they have some reward somewhere they're going to get. So they are ready to die. They are ready to do this stuff. Like a reminder, Niger State alone is almost 10% of Nigerian landmass. The Northwest is over 200,000 square kilometers. These are huge, massive land area. So what we need to do is first to leverage on technology. If we have enough satellites to be able to give us real-time information, we have enough drones to use. But we cannot have enough, but we're making do what we have. And I can guarantee you, the way it is going, I've said it before, asymmetric warfare is not what you start today and you end tomorrow. It is a gradual thing. It's a painfully drawn kind of war that takes time to heal. But again, it must be deliberate, and it entails all society to be together. Why do you think they are surviving? It's because we have people, informants, that are always telling them. I've always reminded people, the last APC that got bugged, our armor personnel carrier that got bugged, it was the locals that picked and were calling those guys to tell them that our APCs are bugged, they should come there. And they came there en masse. So you find Nigerians that are the ones sabotaging our own efforts. We have unscrupulous elements that think they are making money. In the Northeast, people will go to a filling station, take full tank, go in there and sell this fuel to them. People take food. We have banned the use of urea fertilizer, but we find people hiding them under trucks to go and sell to these guys, because once you're able to get it across to them, you make good money. And it is that money that people are going after. So we have a lot of sabotage from within and outside that we need to come together and say, look, enough is enough. Nigerians must take ownership of them, and that's the only way that we can do it. So it's not only a military solution, it's a general solution that we need to adopt.
Yes, General, I get that point, but I asked you also about domestic corporate fighters in Nigeria. All these non-state actors that are engaged to monitor our waters and to support the security agents. You have no objections to them?
No, of course. We used, I was in the Northeast. I was a theater commander in the Northeast.
So you have no objections?
Like I said, Dr. Aboti, like I said, is an all-society approach. communities must stand in and be counted. Individuals must stand in and be counted. We cannot be everywhere. And so in the Northeast, what did we do? We got the communities to rally around, select youths that we know are positive youths that don't have any criminal record. They were profiled by the police and the DSS. We gave them some level of training on how to protect their communities. That has assisted us in doing that because we cannot be everywhere. So they do that to delay until the troops come in to take immediate action. That has helped. So we need the support of everyone. In Kano, for example, why did you think Boko Haram could not survive in Kano? People in Kano, knowing that they are into commerce, Boko Haram in Kano will cause a lot of problem. It will affect their work. So they refused. Anywhere they went to rent accommodation, they were reported. Anybody they see that is strange in any community, they reported them and actions were taken. So that is what we're appealing to all communities. Do not allow them settle in your community. Do not give them any support, because when you do that, that's when you encourage them to do. These terrorists survive within the communities. If the communities freeze them, they cannot survive. So that's our appeal to Nigerians.
The news report in question addresses Nigerians' ongoing security challenges, specifically highlighting statements made by General Christopher Musa, the Chief of Defense Staff, and a response to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's Independence Day speech regarding military operations against Boko Haram and bandit group. In analyzing this report, we must critically examine the socio-political dynamics, the military strategies discussed, and the broader implications for Nigeria's long-standing security issues. For years, Nigeria has been plagued by a multifaceted security crisis. The emergence of Boko Haram in the early 2000s and the rise of other violent extremist groups, particularly in the northern region, have contributed to widespread instability. Banditry, kidnapping, and other forms of criminality have compounded these challenges, threatening the lives and livelihood of millions of Nigerians. President Tinubu's statement in this report focuses on the elimination of over 300 commanders from Boko Haram and bandit groups over the past years. The president emphasizes the government's commitment to eradicating terrorism and violent extremism. While such declarations are a necessary demonstration of governmental resolve, they must be interrogated within the broader context of Nigeria's recurring security crisis. A key component of this discussion revolves around the proposition brought up by Senator Ali Ndume that the Nigerian military should consider engaging private military contractors to combat insurgency more effectively. General Musa strongly rejects the proposal, citing historical precedents and practical limitations. His rejection is not only strategic but also economic, pointing out that engaging contractors is an expensive endeavor with no guarantee of success. Historically, private military contractions have been employed in conflicts across Africa, including in Mali, and as Musa rightly points out, even in Afghanistan. Yet, in many of these cases, their involvement did not bring about the desired resolution. Afghanistan remains a notable example where, despite the heavy presence of private military contractors, the war dragged on for 2 decades and ultimately ended with a chaotic withdrawal by the US military. General Musa's criticism of private military contractors stems from their limitations in asymmetric warfare, a type of conflict characterized by non-conventional tactics, hidden combatants, and insurgents embedded within civilian populations. Asymmetric warfare, which Nigeria faces in its battle against Boko Haram and bandits, requires not only military might, but also intelligence, civilian cooperation, and targeted operations. General Musa highlights a critical challenge of asymmetric warfare, identifying the enemy. The insurgents often blend in with local populations, discarding their weapons to appear as civilians. This makes traditional military engagement ineffective in many cases and increases the risk of collateral damage, which further complicates the military's ability to win hearts and minds. Moreover, the expensive and difficult terrain in northern Nigeria, characterized by forests and borders shared with neighboring countries like Niger and Benin, makes it easier for insurgents to evade capture. General Musa's emphasis on these geographic and tactical challenges provides a nuanced understanding of why military contractors are not a viable solution. Contractors who often rely on short-term aggressive operations may not have the same level of commitment or understanding of the local terrain and dynamics necessary for long-term success. General Musa argues that rather than rely on external forces, Nigeria should focus on equipping and strengthening its military. He mentions that the current administration has approved initiatives to enhance domestic defense capabilities. This approach to military modernization and self-sufficiency is a strategic long-term investment. By developing indigenous capabilities, Nigeria not only reduces its reliance on foreign arms, but also creates a defense infrastructure that can better respond to its specific security needs. The argument here is clear. Nigeria must empower its military to fight Nigeria's war, not outsource them to foreign contractors. Another key aspect of General Musa's rejection of private military contractors lies in the economic dimension. He notes that the funds required to hire military contractors could be better spent on improving the capacity of the Nigerian military. Private military contractors is not a sustainable or cost-effective solution in the long term. Instead, investing in domestic military capabilities ensures that Nigeria retains control over its defense strategies and can build a military that is adaptable to the country's evolving security threats. General Musa's comments suggest that the Nigerian government is already moving in this direction by approving bills that support the local production of military hardware. While this is a positive development, it must be matched with increased transparency and accountability to ensure that funds allocated for defense are used effectively. One of the most profound challenges in Nigerian security environment is the humanitarian impact of ongoing conflicts. President Tinubu, in his speech, emphasized that peace had been restored in some northern communities, allowing displaced persons to return to their homes. This is a crucial point, as the displacement of millions of Nigerians has created a protracted humanitarian crisis that extends beyond the immediate threat of violence. However, while some communities may be experiencing a respite from violence, this does not mean that the conflict is over. These conflicts have ripple effects that complicate Nigeria's own security landscape, particularly in terms of the global arms trade, refugees flows, and economic instability. General Musa makes an important point about the role of Nigerian civilians in supporting the military's efforts. In asymmetric warfare, local populations are key sources of intelligence and cooperation. Building trust between the military and civilians is therefore essential for successful counter-insurgency operations. However, Achieving this trust requires addressing historical grievances and allegations of human rights abuses by the military. In his interview, General Musa underscores the military's commitment to protecting civilians' lives and minimizing collateral damage. He argues that respect for human rights has made the military job more difficult, but it is a necessary part of the strategy. This brings us to the case of Ruth, a female officer who was dismissed from the military under controversial circumstances. The case, as discussed in the interview, raises concerns about how the military handles internal issues, particularly those involving gender and mental health. General Musa defends the military action, stating that Ruth was medically evaluated and found to have mental health issues that compromise her ability to serve. The handling of Ruth's case highlights broader issues within the Nigerian military regarding gender equality and the treatment of mental health. Female officers, like their male counterparts, face significant challenges in the military, but the added dimension of gender can complicate their experiences. Allegations of sexual harassment, as raised by Ruth, are serious and require thorough investigation. General Musa's defense of the military actions emphasizes the procedures followed by Ruth's case, but the public skepticism voiced by the host reflects a broader mistrust of military institutions. This mistrust, whether justified or not, point to a need for greater transparency in how the military handles sensitive issues, particularly those involving gender and mental health. Ultimately, Nigerian security challenges require a holistic approach that goes beyond military might to include civilian cooperation, humanitarian assistance, and economic development. Nigeria's path to lasting peace is complex and fraught with challenges, but with the right investments and reforms, there is hope for a more secure and stable future. This is the end of our news update. I will see you again in my next video.